Yo, what's up, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. I really did think I thought I had added them before the countdown ended, but it's all good. Um, yeah, we're back. Another edition of the On the Ball podcast. Uh, Appreciate all of you for tuning in. You know, we got a lot we're going to talk about. I mean, one, the NFL draft was this past weekend, which I know it might have been hammered to death in the days since, but we're going to give you our kind of view on everything that went down. The first round, which I will pull up because Dylan and I did do the first round mock draft. We'll see how well did we do. I feel like we did okay. We might not have gotten in the same places, but I feel like we did all right with picking the guys who went in the first round. What's going on, Jory? And yeah, do like Jory and make sure to put this up there. There you go. Like, share, and tag your followers. Let's get a healthy conversation going. But first, obviously, before we get into all that, Carmike, what's going on, man? Got to introduce the crew, full crew tonight. Brett was out for the past couple of weeks, but the man lived a life at the not the combine, at the draft. So I'm sure we'll probably hear a little bit about that. But appreciate all of you tuning in once again. Dylan, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good, coming off of a good NFL draft. Obviously we're about to get into it, but being a Seahawks fan, I thought we had an amazing draft. I'm a big fan of it. I saw the comments saying Milroe in Seattle is going to be fun. I agree. But overall, so it feels good when your team has an amazing draft. Plus, these NBA playoffs have been good. I mean, outside of that, Cavs whooping the other night. But, overall, it's been good. It's been very enjoyable.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, we'll definitely get into our thoughts on our teams for sure. Because I do want to kind of get you and Brett, your opinion on what your team did. Mic sounds muffled. All right, I got you, Carmike. Hold on. Let me fix that. Does it sound weird to you too?
A little. It sounds a little muffled.
Okay. I got it. While I'm doing that, Brett, let them know how you are doing tonight.
I'm doing fantastic. I just spent the past weekend at the NFL draft, which was, great. I loved it. Yeah, we had a fantastic time. So, being there and just interacting with everybody and seeing all the different people just coming together in Green Bay, total of 600,000 people. Like, it was surreal. It was a blast.
Is the mic better?
A little bit. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll get through it. Hopefully it gets better as we kind of get going here. I don't know what's going on with it. But, yeah. So starting with the draft, the first round, came and went. And I got to say, Brett, the atmosphere, at least from me watching on TV, looked like it was crazy out there. I know some of the players were definitely feeding into it. With Matthew Golden, like that, he took his 15 minutes and he grasped every bit he could out of that. So starting with your impressions, we'll start with you, Brett. How do you feel about your Packers first round pick? And were there any surprises that, from any of the teams, like who they might not have taken that you thought they would? We only had a couple of trades. Like, did the trade surprise you? Or like, what about the first round caught you off guard, if anything?
What caught me off guard in the first round? I think that's really simple. The Packers actually took a wide receiver. It's funny. I maintained this stance, and I'll say it again. the wide receiver actually wasn't the first thing that I had wanted the Packers to pick, like out of all the players that were on the draft board. But I also said that if the draft board falls that way, I wouldn't mind taking a first round wideout. But with the way that the board fell, I got to admit, when we hit our pick, I'm like, all right, you know what? If we take a wideout here, like I'd be, hyped. And of course, we ended up doing it. We took Golden, and I absolutely loved it. So I loved what we did in the first round, but I'll be the first to admit I was shocked because at the end of the day, we can say that, oh, well, they needed a wide receiver, but the Packers don't do first round wide receivers like ever. So I got to admit, the most shocking moment for me was the Packers actually pulling the trigger on a first round wideout.
Okay, yeah, and I did touch on the microphone. Does it sound better now?
A little bit more, yeah.
Okay, I think I know what's going on. All right, so yeah, look, I thought the presentation from what was it, the president or whatever, where he kind of led into the pick like something they haven't done in a while. I thought that was a good touch. Because for me, it was like I feel like Aaron Rodgers, if he was watching, he probably was losing his mind because that's what he used to talk about all the time, that they never drafted wide receivers and all that. But yeah, I thought it was it was a bit of a need. I feel like Packers fans looking at the wide receiver position, I think collectively, like, they're a good group, but with Watson in and out of the lineup, I feel like them taking a wide receiver wasn't too big of a deal, and hopefully Golden works out. Obviously, we'll be here during the NFL season, and we'll probably see what you think about him as the season goes along. But Dylan, how about your Seahawks? What do you feel about their first round pick?
Pretty good. I mean, it's not a crazy, super hype pick, when your team picks an offensive line. But when you need an offensive guard, you need an offensive guard. And, that's not a Seattle philosophy thing. Like I said, they're not a team that drafts first-round wide receivers. Seattle does not really value the guard position. So taking a versatile guard like Greg Zabel in the first round really shows, they're committing to different directions, which is really nice. I heard they're wanting to be more of a run-heavy type team in this Clint Kubiak offense. Drafting Robbie Outs a fullback was a smart idea too, who wants to be a main blocker. So I feel like, Seattle's going to try to bring the fullback position back a little bit. But overall, it was really good, trading up and getting Nick Emmanwori, who people, comp to Kyle Hamilton and Cam Chancellor a lot. So getting that into a Mike McDonald defense is super excited too, even if we had to trade up. And then we just filled out with good picks, getting a guy like Torrey Holton, who, when we talked about it, he was a first round guy. Back in the early draft process, got injured this year, kind of fell a little bit, especially with Colorado State not being, a super good team neither. So kind of feel like that's a steal. A guy like Elijah Arroyo, a first-year tight end for Miami, really good guy. Got this super high in the prospect after 1 year at playing the position, really good. So Seattle's not that type of team to really kind of load up on all of our needs, and it kind of felt like we did, maybe outside of getting another edge guy. So, and then that Jalen Milroe pick, picking for the future. He's a guy I was pretty high on when we talked about the draft thing. When we were on the first round draft show, I was the only one who actually took Milroe. You guys were the ones to cut him. So crazy enough to say that he's now in Seattle. I mean, obviously he's going to be a guy that sits, and that's something, that's going to be needed for him, but he's going to be able to learn in this offense that I think we're kind of, building a way around him. It's going to be a run heavy offense, not too much worry about him in the passing game, which is something he struggles with a bit, but it's going to work very well for him. Definitely a different dynamic in Seattle. It's going to be really interesting. I'm happy about that Milroe pick. I think about all of those rookie quarterbacks we could have got. I think Milroe would have been the one I was the most excited for, Obviously, Cam Ward wouldn't have dropped us by any means, but how to think all the quarterbacks put in Seattle's system to just sit behind and learn. I think Milroe's the best option for that. Maybe Jackson Dart, but I like Milroe. I like Milroe's potential. I like him in the run game.
Yeah. And I mean, the Seahawks also traded away Sam Howell.
Yeah,
So,
traded away Sam Howell to the Viking. Well, yeah, to
yeah.
the Vikings.
I mean, they clearly are reshaping their quarterback room. And like you said, Milrow will be a guy who can sit for a little bit, refine his skills, and yeah, maybe a couple of years down the road, he takes over as your quarterback out there. You never know.
Last time we drafted a quarterback that high was Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked out pretty well for us, I'd say.
Cam Ward said that really was his favorite receiver. No, yeah, I mean, Cam Ward was his own Adam Schefter spoiling that one. What's going on, Gene? Appreciate you tuning in.
Well, you're telling me that Calvin Ridley and Traylon Burks aren't top 4 receivers in the league?
Tony Pollard's the best back in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad. I didn't see the live stream from him. I probably would have kept pushing him. Like, was Callahan your favorite coach in the league? Like, how much could we get out of him? But
I like how he said that, and they still drafted like 3 receivers in the draft.
Right.
Just to be safe. They're like, hey, we know you're saying you're hyping him up right now, but like let's be a little more safe for you. 2 receivers and a tight end and another running. So yeah, got him some help. They also got Xavier Restro, his receiver at Miami as an undrafted free agent, which I thought that was really cool. Probably help him with some growing pains a lot more.
So the Pollard part 2 and the part about Callahan.
Hey,
Manor.
I don't hate it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. He was someone who was super high in the process.
Mm-hmm.
I even think the Kevin Winston Jr. pick at safety was really good. Great value there.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like when you look at this, a lot of teams did sensible things with their picks. And yes, the overarching story was more on one player who, Carmike did ask, rather Milrow than Shedeur. I mean, I guess if you want to answer that question.
Yeah, just in a sense, like if I was a team that maybe needed a more win now quarterback, I'd go Shedeur. But I mean, the team paid Sam Darnold. He's going to be the quarterback for a bit. And I just think all the media hype around it is not really worth it, especially since he won't play. Seattle paid him that money. He's playing for the season at least. Milrow is someone who can just sit back and learn, and that's kind of what he expects as well, too. He's going to have to be a quarterback that sits back and learns and plays when, if needed or ready. I think just Shedeur and the media storm behind it isn't worth it if my team doesn't need more of a win now ready quarterback. If I was a team like the Browns or like a team, maybe even like the Steelers, I think I'd rather have Shedeur. I'm more in a position, for him to work out with me rather than, Milrow having to be that day one starter.
I think that's
Shedeur needed. I like Shedeur. I thought he was a good quarterback, but he needed a position to where he could, if he was going to play, he was going to have to do good, but like have some stuff around him. As we're like Milrow, no matter what you're going to put around him, he's still a project quarterback, and he was going to make mistakes with probably most things.
Mm-hmm.
He still would have to learn.
Okay, for Restrepo since the 4th round. John, what's going on?
I will say Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're doing. I kind of feel bad for Shedeur because he ended up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like, what are they trying to do? Like
2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs.
No, not even. Like they traded a 2025 fifth for Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
So they pretty much burned 3 picks in this draft on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna have to cut one of them. Like
no,
what?
you will. You will.
Like, yeah, Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, Sanders. Like,
hate to say it, it's probably who's probably going to be cut too. It's probably going to be Pickett. They wasted the pick on Pickett. It's probably going to be him. Or they're going to try to move him for an even later pick again, try to recuperate something. But you drafted those 2 guys. If Flacco goes down, I mean, you're already tanking the season. You gotta let one of those 2 quarterbacks.
I mean, both of you to assume they're not tanking the season with Flacco healthy.
Fair. I mean, good point.
Hey, they got Flacco off the couch and made the playoffs with them. So.
See, I really do. I did love what they did in the first round. I did love the trade back to get extra picks and then still get, Graham. I thought that was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
But also then to double down and just go, you know what we're going to do with those extra picks? We're going to draft 2 quarterbacks. Like, what? Like, I just don't understand what Cleveland is trying to accomplish here. Like, what they did in the draft just makes absolutely no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to second that. Looking at the draft, I wasn't a big fan of maybe the Travis Hunter trade back down. Man, that's a once-in-a-lifetime player, and I think your franchise needs a type of guy like that regardless. And even the crazy to think the concept they could have had Shedeur and Travis Hunter, the media hype storm they would have got with something like that probably would have benefited Cleveland. But regardless, now you're at a game plan where, you have 2 quarterbacks, 2 rookie running backs. I do like the Mason Graham pick and the Carl Schweisinger pick. A lot of people didn't like that at first, maybe just because it wasn't Shedeur or anyone like that. But he was really good linebacker, shot up boards. I didn't hate it. But they're in a weird position. Even drafting a guy like Harold Fanning when you have David Njoku on the team as well, too, just really didn't make sense, especially with that high of a pick. I really don't know what they're doing. It was not a good draft in their opinion. I mean, they do have extra picks for next year with it, which is nice, especially that Jacksonville first is going to be really helpful. But it doesn't matter if you don't know how to pick correctly or if you're still in the same position with, not having a quarterback. You're just going to shoot for the stars again and hope you can draft it. I mean, that's kind of been your guys' motto, and it hasn't been working.
Yeah. I mean, look, you look at Cleveland's history with the quarterbacks, because every Browns fan has that shirt with the long list of names of guys that they drafted and just haven't worked. Maybe Sanders bucks the trend as a 5th rounder, because when you look at that group, it's Kenny Pickett, who the team declined the 5th-year option, so they clearly aren't too bought in on him. Gabriel is a guy that I think throughout this process, Gabriel is probably getting a little bit disrespected, just a little bit. Like, he's not a complete bum. He's not the greatest thing, but it's like, he's gotten Heisman votes. I think he's broken like collegiate records with certain stats.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember which one.
He's also like one of those 5-6 year players.
Right. And that's why I'm like, they probably aren't expecting much from him as well. So it's like, if Shedeur wants to prove that he wasn't a 5th round pick, he should have been a 1st round pick, he should have no problem beating out Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. Now, once it gets to Joe Flacco, if Cleveland wants to go with Flacco for a couple of weeks just for the experience and then turn to Shedeur, like, who cares? Like, once he gets in, then ball out. Because once he gets his opportunity, if he struggles, all that's going to be brought up is that, this is why he was a 5th round pick, or this is why he dropped, or, a lot of people who may not like his dad and the personality and everything that comes with it will have material for that. So if he wants to prove people wrong, you fight it out in camp, show Cleveland that you are that guy, and then seize your opportunity. Tom Brady went in the 6th round and is the GOAT, so it can be done. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But you already know, like, the conversation's been going on for days. It'll probably go on for weeks. Once rookie minicamp happens, Cleveland is going to be probably a place where ESPN has cameras all over, because we'll want to know the daily update on how Shedeur did. So if you were tired with the story of the draft, trust me, it's just going to get much worse. But I guess looking at it, once again, I guess quickly, how would you grade your team's draft? Or we'll go a different way. What was your team's favorite pick and maybe an under-the-radar pick that could work out better than fans might think?
Okay, so if I'm going for my team, my favorite pick probably has to be the Nick Manwari pick. I mean, just great safety, tested out of this world. Kind of, Seattle's been joking around bringing back the Legion of Boom. I'm not sure if this defense can be as dominant as what they were, but It just is a good vibe. I really like the pick. Gives you Cam Chancellor vibes, someone who's just going to go try to blow up a guy in the corner rather than, maybe try to get that deflection or something like that. Just a fun athlete. And an underrated pick, man, hopefully that Torrey Holton pick, like I said, he was a really high ranked up receiver, someone who could have went to, first, second round, maybe even third, had an injury this year, kind of Colorado State high kind of shot down, especially, how Colorado beat them this year. Didn't play for the rest of the season. So, that shoots your stock down, still goes in the 5th round. I think if he can stay healthy, he'll be a fun pick for Seattle. The team that does need more receiver help as well, too. So they'll definitely have opportunity to come in and play.
Okay. Yes, Brett, how about your Packers?
I think the pick that's picked, I think we got a couple picks that can, help us right away. Obviously, my favorite pick is going to be Golden. At the end of the day, that was just, like I said, when you get your first wide receiver in, 23 years, it just has to be your favorite pick at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also did like, and my other one I wanted to throw out there, and Anthony Belton. This was a Packers team that unfortunately we got desperate by injuries to the offensive line in like the last 2 weeks. We're running out like undrafted guys against the Eagles and getting absolutely smoked. So it was really nice for us to, add to the trenches, in free agency, double down in the draft. So I really like watching us add to the O-line. So, and I'm really excited to see what Belton does in our system.
Yeah.
What about your Pats?
Let's see. Favorite pick. I really like the Trayvon Henderson pick. I think when you look at the Patriots running back room, you got Ramondre Stevenson, who had some fumbling issues last year, but I feel like he'll bounce back. You have Antonio Gibson, who I think was a good secondary back last year with Stevenson, but I feel like Henderson gives them a different element than those two, where, he kind of, with Josh McDaniels back there, it's like he now can kind of get into like the James White, Woodhead, Burkhead type stuff where you get it to them in space and the screen game, and he can like take it to the house. So I'll be excited to see how, he's used and everything like that. Carmike, oh, that's Anthony. What's going on, Anthony? Every player knowing against not true. No. There's some of them I don't really know much about, so that I'll leave it at that. But I think the underrated pick, maybe Swinson, because honestly, I did not know he was going to be there at that point. And taking an edge rusher like him, he knows Will Campbell. So I think when you get to, once again, rookie camp, those two going against each other, probably make each other better. And that is something that the Patriots definitely could use. You have Harold Landry on one side. Maybe Swinson kind of breaks out from the group on the other side. I feel like for Vrabel, that's going to be interesting to see, what they do with him. If he's just a situational guy and becomes what Belichick thought Josh Uche could have been, where when they took Josh Uche a couple of years ago, he was supposed to be a guy that you put him out there on third down and passing downs, he's supposed to give you big sack numbers. Never happened with him, so we'll see if it does work out with Swinson. So that's probably my underrated one for sure. Let's get back and get these comment. Favorite picks are every team in NFC South because Saints are in trouble to be last again.
Do we have like a loser team, winner and a loser team of the draft that on our team aren't our teams?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I guess you want to start?
Yeah. So winners are kind of tough because I think you said it really well as well. A lot of teams did super good in their drafts. So thinking of that, I'll take second, but I'll start on a loser. I wasn't a big fan of Minnesota's draft. You get Donovan Jackson in the second round, which maybe I thought was a bit of a reach, but there was that little bit of run on guard. So maybe it was more positional value for them. I know guard was a need, but not getting any secondary help when you really needed some was kind of just struggling. Needed corner and safety help. You draft a receiver in the third round. Very limited picks. And I feel like, some of their picks really didn't go with a lot of their positional needs. Again, wasn't a big fan of that Donovan Jackson pick, especially when you had some better corners you could have gotten potentially. I think with that being more of a positional need in the NFL as well, too, I think reaching for someone like that can never go wrong with it. Mm-hmm. And a team I really liked the draft for, I thought Baltimore had a great draft. Getting Malachi Starks to drop 27 for you was really nice. Getting Mike Green in the second round, even though he had kind of personal issues and stuff like that, is really what made him drop. But still getting him, if that can get cleared up, he's going to be an excellent outside linebacker / edge for you. Even Emory Jones was a great offensive tackle pick. Baltimore had a lot of picks and filled up literally every positional need that they needed. Even had an opportunity to get a kicker, barring that Justin Tucker situation as well, too. So a team that was able to fill up on everything and get a lot of value on everything as well, too. So I thought they had like a really, really great draft. Okay. But they always normally do. The Ravens draft super well.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I know how we feel, but man, they do it. They do it every year. It seems like every year they have some sort of stud on the offense or defense they drafted.
Like I said, I'm glad you gave them that. I couldn't do it. No, I thought they did do well. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, but I feel like like you said, the Ravens aren't necessarily terrible at drafting. It's just playoff time. They're not the best at performing, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
Fair.
Gonna leave it at that. We're gonna say that for the NFL season. But Brett, outside of your Packers, obviously, who do you feel like had a good draft and one that's a little bit questionable? Also, Anthony, I think. Because Anthony says winner Panthers, losers Browns. I thought the Panthers did have a pretty good draft as well.
I was going to say losers Browns, but we already talked about them, so I wasn't going to double down on the Browns.
Yeah, I was going to say it's funny with it's funny that I was going to almost say winner Patriots, but you already spent time talking about the Patriots, so I'll go in a different direction here. Because I did love the Will Campbell at 4 pick.
Yeah.
Winner, I think the New York Giants. I love Abdul Carter. Skibido does a great pickup at running back. And you're able to trade into the first round to potentially get your quarterback of the future without giving up like a first-round pick or anything for next year, just a couple of mid-round picks. I think that's a gamble you take every time. So I do like what the Giants are doing. I think, they continue to build for the future. They also picked up Darius Alexander. So overall, for winners, I think the Giants had a great draft. And, it's funny. The Falcons are hilarious to me. I love the pick of James Pierce Jr., but did they really have to give up a first rounder for next year to get that pick? Like, I just watched the Giants trade like a pick before and not have to give up a first rounder for next year. I think James Pierce Jr. is a fantastic talent. But I also think that they overpaid. So
agreed.
I think the Falcons are, I don't want to say they're complete losers because I like the talent, but I do think that they overpaid. Otherwise, the Bengals, I'm not a big fan of Shamir Stewart. I think he's a freak athlete, but he didn't really produce all that much at the collegiate level. Kind of reminds me of like Rashawn Gary, who had one really good year, but so I think that he has the potential to be like a Rashawn Gary type player, but I've also gotten to see the good and the bad of Rashawn Gary, and if he doesn't get lucky and breaks out like Gary, that pick could end up being a reach and a half. So, but for my losers, for my questionable choices, I'm going to go with the Falcons trading away a first to get back into the late 20s.
Agreed, and it would be different if it was for maybe a different player, but you got Jalen Walker, who is a potential edge in and of himself. So it's like, are you playing like Carter at linebacker? Or are you just going dual rookie edges? I don't know, but like Brett said, trading up a first, if it was like a Giants like trade, cool, fine, make that work, because that could be a crazy combo if they're both good. But now you're taking a chance. Now you're hoping they have to both be good. You already invested in it.
Right. Now, is the audio better now? Because I think I figured it out.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay. So somehow, some way, the platform on here switched my mic to my webcam. That's why. So I apologize for that. Those of you tuning in, but I did figure it out. Yes, Control, I am on a microphone. It just wasn't coming through on there. So yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate all of you for letting me know. I really do.
You know what's funny? I just saw Carmack's comment about the Browns not drafting, Travis Hunter. I think that's going to work out better in the long run for Travis Hunter, especially if he wants to play wide receiver and corner. The best thing to happen to him would be to go to a team that has a wide receiver one, so he doesn't have to try to take wide out one and cornerback one responsibilities. And you go to Cleveland, there's a very good chance that's what happens. He immediately becomes wide receiver one, and he's also just has to play an important role, on the boundary, most likely at cornerback. I think him going to Jacksonville, he can play off of Brian Thomas Jr., relieve some pressure on that end. So I think at the end of the day, the Browns, I think, made a great trade. They got future assets, even though if they didn't use them right. I like Graham, but I think the biggest winner in that trade is Travis Hunter, because Jacksonville is just such a better fit than Cleveland.
Yeah.
I heard they had that trade ready since like April 9th or something like that, which is crazy. Having the trade prepared for 2 weeks.
I mean, Control, defend your team. I appreciate that. Hot take, they cut Shiloh and the Browns pick him up.
Shiloh probably will get cut by the Bucks, but it's funny. If there's a coordinator that can absolutely make use of Shiloh, it probably is Todd Bowles. So in all reality, he's probably in a perfect spot.
Yeah. I saw that, and it was a team that needed some strong secondary help. So if he can just ball out a little bit, he at least has a backup role, just given age.
Yeah. All right. Trying to think of another team besides the two that you came with as a loser. I will say, Miami did kind of make me question where they were going with their draft, going D tackle, not only in the first round, they went back there with their third pick. They did take the guard in the second round, but I was just I feel like they probably should have been one of those teams that take a lineman on the offensive side in the first round, especially with all the question marks with Tua, his ability to stay healthy. It almost seems like Miami's a team that could be teetering on, last place in that division. And with Mike McDaniel, I feel like he's gonna have some pressure on him next year to win, to kind of save face. They did take Quinn Ewers later on, sitting in front of his wall of, hunting trophies, which just made me think of Ace Ventura Part 2. But hey, pick your background as you please. So that one, I don't know. I need to see more from Miami's draft, but right now I wasn't too impressed. And the winners, I was gonna go with the Panthers, as Anthony put it, because I think for Carolina, even outside of the draft, I thought their free agency was really good. It is to the point where I think Carolina could be that team in the NFC South that does make a jump. And in that division, that normally happens where one of the bottom teams the following year goes and wins that division. Now, I think on paper, the Bucks and the Falcons will be thought of higher than Carolina, but we've also seen when you look at it on paper and execution is a little different, because I thought the Falcons were going to run away with that division last year, and they failed miserably. So to me, it's almost why not Carolina at this point? So John says Panthers get 8 to 9 wins. I mean, in that division, you get 9 wins, you're in it. So
how much did Tampa have last year? 10?
I think they had 10, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's right on the
Yeah, you get to 9, you're in play. And I feel like Carolina could be that team next year. Bryce and Ted McMillan obviously will have to create that connection, but I think he'll be great for him. Look, they're still getting production from Adam Thielen, but now with McMillan, it's Thielen can now take a bit of a backseat and not be leaned on as your go-to guy.
You also have Xavier Legette, who's still there too.
Yeah. So I think they'll be good this year. Pitts had a good draft too. You have something to toot the horn about. I mean, Mike Vrabel's just doing his thing right now. I'm just sitting back and enjoying it. So he had look for his first draft. I thought it was really good. Yes. Bryce Young has to prove it this season. I mean, Bryce Young's gone through his like trials and tribulations out there. They made the deal for him. Then they almost punished him for not putting anything around him. Then they were like forced to go back to him last year, and he played much better. So now I think this year, hopefully the team is committed to him and he understands that he's the guy. And I think we'll get a better Bryce Young next year for sure.
I think just by the addition of McMillan, that'll be a better Bryce Young. Like
Yeah.
Young, Thielen, like they did put some weapons around him, so that's good. You know, when he was struggling, they had Adam Thielen and like Jonathan Mingo trying everything he can to not stay in bounds on catches. Like it was bad. So I'm happy that they're investing in Bryce Young.
Yeah, McMillan's going to be one of those guys. If Bryce Young's a little inaccurate, it's still in technical range.
Mm-hmm. I'm not beating around the bush, Carmike. I think if you look at the situation, I couldn't sit here and tell you Bryce Young is good or not because I don't think the situation in Carolina has been anything to really evaluate him on. But it seems like they're getting smarter with their decisions, especially going like defense heavy free agency as well. Because I think on that side of the ball, they needed a lot of help. I think now we can actually look at them and go, okay, Bryce, what kind of quarterback are you? So I will be watching them to see if Bryce Young is actually good enough or not. I can't judge him on before. I'll judge him from here going forward. So that's what I think about them and everything like that. So, okay, so how will this draft, I guess to you, be remembered? Obviously, we use it outside of Shedeur. Like, what will be kind of the narrative on this draft in a couple of years?
I think this draft has a lot of great starters, but I'm not sure. And of course, we never know until it happens. But I don't think we have many superstars that are going to come out of this draft. I think we have a lot of great starters, though. I'm not sure if this was a draft that where, like I said, from the whole start of the prospect, a guy you could pick at 20 could also probably been a guy you picked at 60 or a guy you picked at 90. And it seems like outside of Shedeur, a lot of people fluctuated in draft from going higher or lower than what they were even projected to in many different mocks. So I just think this was a solid class, but I don't think it was an amazing class.
Okay. Brett?
Yeah, I second that. I think this will be a draft that's mainly remembered for adding some great depth. There might, obviously there's always going to be a few breakouts and maybe a few like stars that pop out of nowhere. But at the end of the day, just first reaction is I think this will be a good draft, but it's going to be good for teams that really need depth. I don't think there's a lot of like superstars in this draft, but I think there was a lot of quality depth to be had.
Yeah, I mean, not to sound like a broken record, I agree with that as well. It's like maybe next year might be a flashier one, obviously with Arch Manning and everything that will come with that. But I think teams were just smart with their picks, and we'll probably have guys that 5-6 years down the line will still be on their team and will be contributing. None of them might be like, you might not even get a lot of Pro Bowlers or stuff out of this, but I feel like teams will be happy with what they picked down the line. I feel like a lot of teams filled holes that they needed with quality players. And I guess now we'll see how it plays out once the season starts for sure. But Carmike, trying with some BS happening. I mean, Carmike, I feel like you try to get that check from the Sanders family, man. That's how I feel like you're trying to do.
Okay, like what BS, right?
Here we go.
I think the problem is the media overrated Shedeur Sanders. I think that's the problem. I think there was a very vast difference in Shedeur Sanders, like ranking with the media and actual NFL scouts. And the fact that he just completely nuked the pre-draft process, I think that played a big factor in it. I think that at the end of the day with Shedeur, I always thought he was a day 2 talent. I thought he was either a late first or a day 2 talent. I don't think he was ever top 3. But the reality is, it turned out that the NFL scouts thought even lower of him. So I don't think that there was a lot of like hocus pocus, racism, BS, whatever people are claiming. I think the media overrated Sanders initially. Then he nuked the pre-draft process. And now you're looking at, okay, at the end of the day, I think this guy's a backup quarterback. Do I want all this extra drama and attention for my backup quarterback? He's a guy that if you ranked him as a starter franchise quarterback, yeah, you are more than welcome to deal with all the extra attention, all the questions. But the reality is the NFL didn't view him as a starting quarterback, and the media just overrated him.
Yeah. And I think where a lot of that is coming from, Colorado was a team that nobody cared about. Deion went there after Jackson State, where he obviously pulled Travis Hunter from Florida State. So there's a lot of hype behind Deion, Shedeur, Travis going to Colorado. They made it like a fun time. Stephen A., Shannon Sharp, all these other guys are showing up on the sidelines. You had, rappers and stuff. So they became like the pop culture team that everybody who didn't even care about college football, they just watched for Deion, Travis, and Shedeur. So I think because of that, yeah, the hype was there, even though Travis Hunter, we all can agree, great talent. Like, we don't see a lot of guys who contribute the way that he does on both sides of the ball. But I think where people were watching Travis Hunter, obviously Shedeur was the quarterback, so they started linking the two together. So all through this process, we kept hearing, like, Hunter's going number 2 and all this. So everybody's like, okay, so Shedeur's obviously going to go in the first round too. And I think that's where the separations kind of started. Because I think there were people who watching Shedeur were like, he's a good quarterback, but is he really that great? And, a lot of people said no. Whereas people who've been watching only Colorado thought he was really good because Travis was really good. So maybe he's not 5th round worthy. Like, I guess we can maybe agree with that. But first round, no. I thought what might have happened only because the way the NFL is and how quarterback hungry some of these teams are, like the Jackson Dart move, where the Giants moved back into the first to go get him. Some might say that's a reach for a guy who probably would have fell through the first round. And if you wanted him, you could have taken the chance to get him in the second round. I thought maybe a team does that for Shedeur at the bottom of the first round just because see what you have with him. But they chose not to do that. And I think kind of like Cottrell said it earlier, when we really look back on this, we'll just look at this and say the quarterback class coming into this process was seen as not that great. As the draft played out, wasn't that great. Because a lot of teams were willing to just sit back and just take a guy. I don't think they really are ready to turn the keys over to a lot of the guys that they picked. Because as Cottrell said, a lot of these might be fringe quarterbacks, break glass in case of emergency type quarterbacks for them to get an opportunity. And I wouldn't be surprised in 5 years, a lot of these guys that were taken are out of the league or just straight clipboard holders. So I don't think it's a draft where we're going to look and say, oh, Shedeur was robbed and it was like a really rememberable class. I think it's going to be forgettable in a couple of years, and we may even forget who the other quarterbacks were in this class around Shedeur going in the 5th round. And that's if he proves he's a starter quality quarterback. You have to remember, the measurables aren't necessarily on his side. He's not fast. Doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the biggest guy. So there's going to be some challenges for him as well. So I'm just saying. I know Carmike, a lot of people were talking about 3rd to the Giants. I never bought into that because I thought if they did that, I thought the Giants were going to be in trouble.
And also, I saw the two, Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur. Did people already forget Heisman finalist Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur?
I was about to say Gabriel was a finalist for
Dylan Gabriel was really good. Now, if you want to say Tyler Show over Shedeur, okay, you know what? I'll buy that one. I thought Shedeur. I think Shedeur is a lot more upside than Tyler. You want to say Shedeur over Jalen Milroe? I think that's a conversation to be had. But I think if you said that Ward, Dart, and Gabriel over Sanders, I don't have much of an argument there. At the end of the day, Jackson Dart just has a much livelier arm than Shedeur. and you can make something work with that. And I think people are just underrating Dillon Gabriel. Like, the man was a Heisman finalist. Like, I think he's just getting a lack of respect. Johnny, man.
I mean, well, look, if we're gonna look at the Johnny Manziels of the world, like, he didn't work out. So I don't want to necessarily use that in this argument. Like, I feel like too many people are acting like he went undrafted or something. Like, he went in the 5th round. He heard his name. He's on a team. He has an opportunity to do what he wanted to do anyway, which was start in the NFL. So what if with all this like backlash from people, let's say he goes to camp and he absolutely stinks for the Browns. Then what do we say at that point? Do we say that the 5th round pick was justified then? Do we say what? Do we say that Cleveland's doing him wrong? Like, is my thing is like, I don't want it to turn to where Shedeur all of a sudden becomes that guy you can't criticize, you can't, act like his skill set may not work, and then get labeled like, Jordan Pedalura, like a hater. Because we see that with Lamar. If you criticize Lamar, you get kind of thought of a certain way. And I feel like Lamar is a much better prospect. So that's even crazy to bring those two up. But it's just like, the draft is a lottery for a reason. Like, for all we know, we're making fun of Tyler Shuck, or however you pronounce it. He could turn into a really good quarterback. We have no idea. A lot of us are just looking at him because we just don't know who he is. I only knew his name from playing NCAA. And I saw him come up one time and I was like, I don't know who that is. Cool. But it's just like, I look, I'm not a talent evaluator. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know how these guys are gonna perform. But it's kind of crazy that we're like killing these other guys who were drafted because they're not Shedeur. We don't know. Some of these guys may actually be better. Never know.
I think the confusing part about Tyler was mainly age, right? Like,
Yeah, he's like 26 years old.
He's 25. Like, he was starting games when Juice WRLD was still alive. Like, that's like the confusing part.
He was bonus backup at Oregon.
And he's had like so many injuries. So, like, that was the confusing part. I think Shedeur was a day 2 talent. I think he should either went in the 2nd or 3rd round. But at the end of the day, he got drafted and he's in the NFL. At the end of the day, like, I don't know if you can give me a great argument besides, like, you can make the argument he should have went over Shaw or should have went over Milroe, and I'm like, okay, fine, like, probably should have.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that the fact that he's in the NFL, he's on a team, and not to mention now, this gives him a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
So I think he did fall by a day, but I don't think the fall was as drastic as everybody's making it seem. And now I think that at the end of the day, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder to prove everybody wrong, and that actually just might benefit him.
I feel like I heard on the broadcast they said Shuck. I don't know. I don't know. We'll just say that dude in New Orleans. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. But where was I going with this one? Oh, how many quarterbacks went first round the Browns in which draft? Look, if these teams hit 100% on the guys they drafted, nobody would be bust. So that's what I'm saying. Like, Shedeur went 5th round. It's over with. Ultimately, teams may look back on it and say, we screwed up. That happens every year with the draft. I'm a Patriots fan. How many times do I have to be remembered about Aaron Dobson or, Sony Michel and these guys who were taken 1st round, 2nd round that didn't pan out? And then I have to be reminded that Deebo Samuel went after N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry stinks, and Deebo Samuel became Deebo Samuel. But that's just the way it works with the draft. So I look, I'm not going to lose any sleep over Shedeur going in the 5th round. I look at it the same way that I keep saying it. He's in the league now. He has to get to work. he needs to now do everything he can to, unseat Joe Flacco as a starter, and then now he can create his post-draft story. That's just where I'm at with it. All right, let's see. I think there's some other comments. So Carmike said respect second and third, which I agree. Like once he got past the first round, I was like, yeah, he'll probably get picked Friday. Then that didn't happen. Yeah, we are where we are.
Once he got past Thursday, I was like, okay, I think that the Browns right off the bat, or maybe the Steelers at 81. Like I definitely thought he was worthy of a day 2 pick, so that did surprise me a little bit.
So Carmike, I'm gonna ask you this straight up. What did you think about Tom Brady when he was drafted? I'm gonna keep using Tom Brady in this argument until I'm blue in the face. Tom Brady went in the 6th round, couldn't even win the starting job in Michigan because of Drew Henson. And teams passed on him left and right. And I'll give you $100 if you can name some of the quarterbacks who went ahead of Tom Brady in that draft. Most of them never made a name for themselves in the NFL. And Tom Brady turned into what he is. So I'm not gonna go crazy because the dude went in the 5th round.
I mean, yeah, they're just every year that one late round talent. And when you think about it, it's like, yeah, there's that many guys that went above him, and that's still the best above it. Like, there's so many times like this 5th rounder was the best in his position in that class.
Mm-hmm. And what's funny, like with Sanders, like I don't like the Browns because they can't draft a quarterback, but he does have a great coach in Stefanski.
Mm-hmm.
Say Jerry Jeudy's good occasionally. Sorry, Cottrell. I'm not a Jerry Jeudy guy, but he did have a good year last year. I'll give him credit. Maybe this is his breakout year.
Yeah.
Like, I think they need to get a running back. I don't think Nick Chubb has enough left to really be an impact player after that horrific knee injury, unfortunately.
Well, he's a free agent still.
Oh, okay. So, but my point is, like, the Browns aren't good at developing quarterbacks. But he is with a great coach, Stefanski. He is with he does have, guys like, Jeudy and Njoku. He does have a little bit of weaponry there in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. It is possible that he does break out. So, but, first things first, get through training camp. Beat Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel, which is, very possible.
All right, so Carmike wants to challenge me to something because apparently I can't use Tom Brady. Fine, let's roll with this. How about Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. It has now put himself in a position to get paid big money for leading the 49ers to the Super Bowl. Does that work for you? Or do I have to come with somebody else?
How late in the draft are we talking? Because, like, Russ fell in the 3rd round. And then he won multiple. He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
At the end of the
guarantee that just because you're a 1st round pick that you're this great player. There's been plenty of guys who went in the 1st round that stunk. Jamarcus Russell. Remember him? The guy who could throw it 100 yards from his knees? Dude was trash.
Yeah. I'm not, like I said, I'm hoping that I'm wrong and the Browns develop one of their young quarterbacks on the roster, but at the end of the day, he made it to the league, and I hope that that all the guys there thrive. Like, that'd be fantastic. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens, in Cleveland. Not just with Shedeur, but see how Dylan Gabriel looks in camp.
Yeah, Ryan Leaf was supposed to be a can't miss guy. Tell me your favorite Ryan Leaf highlight. I'll wait.
Jamarcus Russell, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about situation, not. It's all about.
Tell me your favorite Trey Lance highlight.
Carson Wentz.
Like, there's so many of them.
Mitch Trubisky.
I think what people miss too about
Jimmy Crawford. Like, let's keep it going.
Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
There are 9 mistakes ahead of him, but quote from Josh Rosen himself. People too miss with things like this with the draft is they don't only look at the stats, right? Mm-hmm. It's also about your athletic traits. Shedeur created a lot with his legs in college, but he doesn't really have the athleticism to break away from NFL pass rushers. His arm, compared to some other NFL talents, is a little weaker. Yeah, he did throw a ton behind the line of scrimmage. So at the end of the day, like I think he has great accuracy still throwing down the field.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like we also like you want to see why he fell like on the field. Like his stats look great, but you just kind of try to like look what he did and go, okay, how is that going to translate to the NFL level? And I think a lot of what made Shedeur special in college was that improvision of his. And I don't know how well that improvision is going to translate to the NFL because I don't think he has that breakaway speed to evade NFL level pass rushers.
I mean, Carmike, we're naming first round guys because you put in here you thought he was going to go 3rd overall. That's why we were putting those guys up there. Yeah, Ryan Leaf. Yeah, we mentioned him. Prettiest talents. I'm taking that away from. Stop taking that away because of Shanahan. Yeah, and look, even if you're a quarterback that is drafted high, it's kind of all about situation. So once again, if Shedeur had gone to the Giants like everybody says he should have, who's to say the Giants would have done best for him? For all we know, as Cottrell said, Stefanski can scheme up an offense. What if that's the place he needed to be?
I mean, shoot, even Jalen Hurts.
Jason Tatum, Channing Crowder, Clan Chowder, Cavs, and 7. Okay, Cottrell. All right. Trey Lance because he said, "Oh, okay, got you, Anthony." So Anthony was pushing back on the whole Shanahan makes it work with Trey Lance. Didn't work in 49ers scheme. Part of that was he couldn't stay healthy the 1 or 2 times that he was given the opportunity, but I definitely see what you're saying there, Anthony. So, yeah, I think people are paying way too much attention to the pick number next to his name. Because if he becomes a starter, he becomes a Pro Bowler, becomes an all-pro guy, who cares? Leave Jalen out of this. All right. Okay, so we've gone about an hour on the draft. Let's go ahead and switch gears to the NBA. Look, appreciate all of you in the chat for real. Love the conversation. Carmike, appreciate you for sure. I see you keep trying to push back on me. It's all good. Let's keep it going. Hope I wasn't beating around the bush on that one for you. But let's go NBA. We got to talk about some of these teams out here that let's talk about the teams that were eliminated. Let's get them out of the way.
Do we have to talk about the NBA? Because then I have to talk about the Bucks, and I don't really want to do that today. They're making me mad.
Facts in the end of the day, who cares? That part of Tom Brady or being the 6th round. Yeah. No, Carmike, trust me. Look on here. That's what we want. We want conversation to be open. So appreciate you for sure. Yes, Miami got smoked. Heat culture. Look, talk about wasting a team's time. Like Cleveland would have been better off sitting home for these 4 games and just waiting for the next round. Because Miami wasn't it. They were never going to be competitive in this series. Oh, Cottrell's got a question for you. Your NBA team.
I'm a Hawks fan, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, Hawks looking forward to next year.
Yeah, we're out.
I will talk more Hawks like draft time because I do definitely have a lot of thoughts on where they need to take their team. But looking at the Heat, actually we'll start with this. We'll lump a couple of teams together. So the Heat swept out, the Grizzlies swept out, and who else has been eliminated? Is that it? Well, I guess unless the Bucks lose tonight. But in Orlando, teams that are on the brink. If you could take one of those teams' futures, who would you take between the Grizzlies, Magic? We'll throw Pistons as well. Pistons or Heat.
The Magic. I mean, that's pretty easy for me. You have a guy like Paulo Banchero, who's still a superstar. You have a lot of young guards who, maybe haven't necessarily, a lot of your young talent hasn't played necessarily super well in numerous series, but overall, I think just on paper, you definitely have a team that you could really build with. I mean, the Celtics are, the reigning champions. You have probably the hardest draw outside of having to play the Cavaliers in this series. So, I mean, yeah, I'd still take the Magic future. Having a guy like Paulo Banchero, none of those guys really have a guy like that outside of maybe John Morant, which Trail said, but with the Grizzlies. But I don't know. I just feel like the amount of talent you have there, this team is just has to be, play more, get used to it, progress really to get there.
Okay, so you pick. Well, before I get to you, Brett. So you pick the Magic's future.
Yep.
So now we're gonna make you the GM. What is the one thing that you go out and get right away for the Magic to make them better next season?
I think you need to get a veteran ball handler on the court. Someone who can, help with proper court spacing. Maybe not be the best shooter in the world, but someone that you can trust in the hands. Let's say if one of your big guys is not out because they're loaded with Wagner and Banchero as their big, so kind of their bigger forward type of guy. I just think getting a veteran ball handler out there. I know you have a guy like KCP, great shooter, that helps as well too. But someone who really can just space out the court, set up proper plays. Someone who can set the right proper movements for some of these guys, and I think that will help.
Okay. So Brett, same question: whose future are you taking?
So I'm probably going to stay in the East because, I trust one of these teams breaking out in the East more than I do a team breaking out in the West.
Okay.
It's definitely either Orlando or Detroit. Orlando, I just get shooting. I don't really care what else they can do. Like, if there's a team willing to overpay for somebody, a pure shooter like Michael Porter Jr., it'd be the Magic. They just can't space the floor at all is their issue. But I'm going to go with the Pistons. I'm going to go with the Pistons. I just watched them make a massive jump already year one under Bickerstaff. And I think that, that's absolutely terrific for them. And if I could pick one thing to fix on them, I think they need more two-way players. They need more versatility, right? I think one of the big flaws with the Pistons is they can play offense or they can play defense. But the players that they have kind of almost specialize in one thing or the other, right? You can lock down people by putting in a Sor Thompson, but then you can't shoot. So you could take out, Duren for Isaiah Stewart, but I don't think Isaiah Stewart's the greatest defender. Or, you can go offense. You could put in Malik Beasley, at the 2, but then you're losing the defense. I think the Pistons... I think they can lean offense or they can lean defense. I think they need to get a couple two-way guys that can just kind of do both for them so they don't have to lean extreme one way or the other.
Okay. I mean, I did leave a team out of this, so I guess I'll throw them in now and see if your mind would change. So if I threw the Rockets into this, so Dylan, would you still stick with the Magic or would you take the Rockets? Future?
I'm still going to stick with the Magic, probably.
Okay. Brett? Would you stick with the Pistons or take the Rockets?
I mean, you know what? At that point, I'd probably switch and go over to the Rockets.
Okay.
Being able to do what they did, get the 2 seed in the West, that is mega impressive. And what they need to fix is just half-court offense. Their half-court offense right now is in the hands of Van Fleet or Jalen Green being their primary creators, but that's just not a recipe for consistent success. Or Sengun, who can, but that hasn't really shown to be like a consistent weapon either. At the end of the day, I think they just need to get someone, and this is why they're linked so heavily to KD, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. They need to get somebody who can consistently create efficient offense for them in the half court.
So Cottrell brings up Spurs could go make a phone call for KD. I mean, I did leave teams that missed the playoffs out of this. I mean, I think there are some teams that are on the outside looking in who do have some interesting features. We'll probably say that for like the off season, maybe, or maybe around draft time or something like that. Just wanted to focus on the playoffs. But I agree, Spurs could make some interesting moves that could vault them somewhat rocket-like next season.
Stephen Castle just won Rookie of the Year. It was announced right
Yeah.
before we got on. So I mean, now you got a back-to-back Rookie of the Years. You got some
Mhm.
pieces you can move.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
look-
you got Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, some picks. I mean, Katie doesn't
Right.
want to play there. You're probably not going to get a better package than something like that.
Yeah. And who knows? The league wants to throw him a bone again and give him Cooper Flag. Who knows? Damien, what's going on? Okay, Damien, we went over the Sanders stuff. I have to check out earlier. But yeah, appreciate you tuning in. Let's see. Spurs can make calls for Billy Donovan. We'll give him it for free. Yeah, Damien. Yeah, we know Damien. You're not feeling your Bulls right now. Spurson on the gold mine. Only reason I brought it up. Yeah. No, look, the Spurs are in a very good position. I will be locked in lottery night to see how it all shakes out. Let's see. Need him on the Lakers. I mean, let's talk about Cooper Flag. Need him on the Lakers. I mean, let's get him to the Lakers. They're on the brink of elimination against a Timberwolves team that, like, I'll give them credit. I was not expecting this I'm like, Ant, fine. Julius Randle is out here playing like he's in a contract year. That was the last time I seen him play like this, and then he fell off. Naz Reid is playing really well, and I feel like the Timberwolves maybe will eliminate the Lakers in Game 5. We'll see. I mean, I'm not going to call that series over with yet, because just as well as Memphis has played through these first 4 games, I could see it turning around on them completely. Like, if Game 5 happens and the Lakers win it a certain way, I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers won like Game 6 and then went to a Game 7. And then at that point, you're playing, do you take Luka and LeBron's experience over a team in Minnesota that still is young, still somewhat developing? And once you get to Game 7s, of course, like, anything can happen. So first question for you two. Is that, do you consider that series over at this point? Or how much % chance do you give the Lakers of forcing a Game 7? We're not going to say winning it, but forcing a Game 7.
I'd say I'd give them probably. I would say I'd give them a benefit of the doubt. Probably say 40%. I mean, you got to look at this roster. Look who is LeBron James. I mean, what was our % chance of the Cavs being down to the Warriors 3-1? Probably not pretty high. I mean, things like that happen. This is the NBA. Crazier things can happen. It's a game of run. It's a game of, if you're the hot team, you're the hot team. So I mean, having a guy like Luka and LeBron, you have some confidence in them. You have to. I mean, if you don't, then they're going to show you why you should again. So I would still give them a good example. But I mean, like I said, with Minnesota at the start of the playoffs, I said if there's any matchup, the Lakers probably would hate, it would be Minnesota. And they've given them fits massively, down 3-1 in the series. My big thing was, how are the Lakers going to match up with, Minnesota? And it hasn't been super well. Definitely the height is something that it is, but also Minnesota has scrappier guys. They're a scrappy team, so they can give you some of your offensive guys some fits. And if you're not able to stop them, Minnesota's one of the streakiest teams in the NBA where, like, if they're on fire, they're on fire. If Anthony Edwards is yelling and pushing and shoving, like, that whole team feeds off of it. So if he's having a great game, then Minnesota's most likely going to have a great night as well.
Yeah, I'd give the Lakers about like a 30% chance to force a Game 7. Because I think that, when you have LeBron and Luka, I'll give you a little bit higher of a chance because those two can go, nuts enough to pull it off. But I don't really think the odds are in their favor all that much, because at the end of the day, I think the big problem is the Wolves are better equipped to guard them than they are the Wolves. they have big bodies that they can throw at Luka and LeBron to at least annoy them and bother them.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers have absolutely nobody they can throw on Anthony Edwards. Like, there is not a good matchup where I look and go, yeah, this guy can even slow down, Ant. Like, they don't have that. Like, between Jaden Daniels, Naz Reid, even Julius Randle, they have guys have size and like to get physical, which is kind of LeBron and Luka's wheelhouse. They like to get physical, and the Wolves have physical defenders to match it. But Anthony Edwards, they don't have anybody to put on the perimeter and say, okay, guard him, especially with him shooting the way he has.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the key. I think Ant's been pretty bad at finishing around the rim, but he's made up for that by just shooting the lights out again from three, which has been a revelation. So I'll give them a higher percentage than I would any normal team because I respect LeBron and Luka, but I think this series is all but wrapped up.
I think to go with this here, because I was going to go here with the next part of the question. A lot is being made out of what JJ did game 4, playing his 5 guys for the whole second half and not really going into the bench. And my thought on it was, I was okay with the decision only from this standpoint. Like, he made a move that he thought was going to work out based off of the dire situation they were in. And I can't fault him for that because it failed in the end. And, Brett, not to kind of do this to you, I'm watching Doc in Milwaukee just sit there and run the same stuff out there game after game and not do a thing. I would rather my coach do what JJ did than necessarily what Doc's doing. And Doc waited until the start of game 5 to actually make the changes that I know, Brett, you've been calling for games now, and taking Kuzma out. And what else did he do? He took Kuzma out. Did he take Prince out of the starting lineup too?
Yeah, he took Kuzma and Prince out of the starting, and Brook.
Yeah, and looking at the way that they played against the Pacers, it was like, Doc, why are you doing this to those guys? Look, Brook Lopez, God love him. He can hit an outside shot. He's a pro. He's all that. But asking that man to run around against this Pacers team defensively is criminal. And I didn't understand it. I was like, put Brook on the bench. You try to maybe match him up with a certain guy off of the Bucks bench or something like that, steal some minutes from him. But Doc would just sit there game after game, same starting lineup, to have the same results happen. And now that he's done it, I know the game is close, but the Bucks are leading by a bucket at this point. But it's like, why wait this long when your season's basically over to now make the change? So JJ got a lot of crap for it, but I didn't hate it. Because let's be honest, JJ's probably sending a message that the bench was cool in the regular season, but I don't think JJ trusts a lot of these guys in a playoff situation. So Cottrell says give Vando and connect some minutes. I mean, at this point, why not? It's an elimination game. You might as well throw out something out there and see. Maybe get connect on a heater one game. And that's what your season is at this point. It's just 1 game intervals. But what were your thoughts on JJ's decision?
Rookie head coach is going to rookie head coach. Right? Like, did I think that there were moments where he could have rested like LeBron and Luka and them more? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, he's a rookie head coach. He's going to learn. I wasn't too worried about it. We're calling for Vando to play, which I don't really think he's going to make all that big of a difference. The problem with Vando is, yes, he can play defense, but also on offense, you're playing 5-on-4. He has the utility of the door behind me on offense is kind of the issue. And Connect is just absolutely abysmal defensively. But that being said, yeah, you could have snuck a couple minutes in them for them, maybe in the middle of the third. I think that at the end of the day, JJ did make some mistakes. I don't think there's any denying that. So, but I'm not going to really overthink it. I think that's just, it's a rookie head coach in his first playoff setting. It's just going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dylan, what do you think of the move?
I mean, basically agree. I mean, maybe it's not the smartest decision to do, but like what you said, and games where you're getting close, about to be down 3-1, you gotta find what a game plan that works. Just even if it's something kind of get you back into a position to where you have more time to think. That situation, things weren't going well, and you just needed to hope you could get the win out and try to think again for game 5. It didn't go their way, so if they won, it would be a different story. Maybe there might have been some flack against it, but if they won the game, nobody really would have said anything. It would kind of been what it was. But it was only a 3-point loss in that situation. Still didn't work out for them. Kind of gives them some things to work with, and you go on to game 5. But I didn't hate the idea. He just doesn't have a proper game plan yet. Like what Brett said, rookie head coach is going to rookie head coach. And, that's not sure if it was a panic game plan or just kind of seeing, hey, if this sticks, it sticks. I mean, you're going to keep your best 5 out there, when it comes down to it. If you're not really sure what to do in these situations, those are your best 5, you would say. So hate to see it, but I mean, if it worked, then nobody really would have been saying too much about it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, he's had a good season for his first season as a head coach. He seems like the position isn't too big for him. But yeah, this is this learning opportunity. I mean, I saw with Missoula, people got on Missoula for his timeout usage. He got better with it. So JJ will definitely learn from this and will move on and be better for it.
And plus, he gets an off season with this, Luka LeBron look now, rather than a LeBron Davis look. So, have a little bit more to work with, what to build around, because those will be your superstars.
Well, to answer Carmike's question, I was about to put this up. I think it's to this comment. If the Lakers get eliminated, would y'all say nobody won the Luka trade?
No.
Right. I think that's where this is coming from. Yeah.
You have to think of the long term. You got to think of the long term. Yeah, if they don't make it, that's whatever. But if you look at the Mavericks last year and look at the Mavericks this year, and then if you look at the Lakers last year and this year, the Lakers won a series last year, right? Did they make it to the conference? I don't know how far the Lakers made in the playoffs last year, but they won a series, if not 2. So if both teams got eliminated, Lakers eliminated in the first round, and Mavericks not making the playoffs, whatever. But the Mavericks didn't even make the playoffs. A championship contender team did not make the playoffs. At least the Lakers still did, and they have Luka Doncic. So that will always be that bargaining chip. Unless Anthony Davis comes out nuclear and has a great season, or the picks and value that they got might be what they are, which we won't know till forever. To find out. I think in the current now will always be the Lakers who win. It will always be the Lakers who win.
And I love how you said picks, like they got multiple. They got one first out of that trade. It was a 2029 Lakers first.
That will be something for in the near future.
I hate seeing this, right? Because it's not the first time I've seen this. People are trying to use Luka's not playing that well on defense, so guess what? Nico must have been onto something. Nico was onto nothing. Nico is smoking crack in Cancun right now because that's what he must have been doing at the time of this trade, and that doesn't change it. It's a bad trade. I don't care. It's a terrible trade. Anthony Davis is a good player, but he's 33. So you opened up this 2-year window because guess what? Starting in 2027, you don't have your first. So this guy just completely nuked a long-term window for a 2-year title window, and you're building that around Anthony Davis and Kyrie coming off an Achilles injury. So at the end of the day, if anything, this trade after, since it happened, has looked absolutely disastrous for Nico Harrison.
Yeah, I agree. And as Cottrell put it, from the Lakers angle, they're looking at post LeBron. Because look, LeBron's at the end of his career, and there were so many questions before Luka got there. What were the Lakers going to do once LeBron hung it up? Because it seemed like they'd done so much to kind of preserve LeBron and as long as they could in LA. But you had to start thinking about, okay, what do you do when LeBron's gone? So now they have Luka, who's a guy that they can now build around post LeBron. So that's from there. Look, from Dallas's angle, they're gonna keep saying that's because Luka doesn't play defense or something. So they got a guy in AD who plays defense. I don't know. Whatever helps Nico go to sleep at night. Like they'll switch it however they want to make it justified. And that's kind of where we are. So yeah, Damian said, would they regret it? I say no on the Lakers end. Dallas probably, well, we know Mark Cuban didn't like it because we saw that man go through all the emotions when he was in the arena that night when Luka came back. So, yeah.
Hey, real quick, Kyle, we got a comment on TikTok, which, we're streaming on TikTok too, by the way, and they're not popping up on screen, so be patient with us.
Okay.
Smooth Tequila says Miami Heat GM needs to be fired. Eric is a good coach. We just don't have a talented team, no depth. So what do you guys think about Riles finally getting the boot over in Miami?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you look at this team that had that kind of, if you want to call it, I'm not going to necessarily call it a championship window, but they did make, a conference finals and a championship. But that window that they had, at least contendership, has gotten massively smaller after Jimmy Butler left. But even during that Jimmy Butler time, it didn't seem like they could do anything to kind of build around that team to, make them feel like a definite contender every year. Because every year we talked about Miami, but we talked about Miami as maybe the second, third string type of contender team when it came to the overall playoff. We never talked about Miami being a powerhouse, and kind of what Miami did is like they kind of just shocked us all. That's where our joke Heat culture and stuff comes from, or playoff Butler. It's because, man, that's not really kind of what you expected from the Heat during the season, and it's because they didn't kind of build that ideal in their head. It kind of seemed like they had to take a big run just that kind of just shocked us all, or just have an elite playoff run, elite shooting from elite clips, and that's what that Heat team did really well. They shot amazingly during those runs. I mean, Duncan Robinson was going absolutely nuclear, and then kind of look how he is now as a player in comparison. So I feel like what Miami really did is that they did try to make moves, but it was always just minor moves. It wasn't anything too big. It seemed like they were always in the news for like a Bradley Beal. And, obviously not saying how good that would have been for him, but always in the news for some of these big superstars, and never got close to any one of them, it felt like.
By the way, Damian, I saw that comment. We're not doing that to Spo. He is not Doc Rivers 2.0. Yeah. Doc Rivers is in his own league of ass. Like, he is not Doc Rivers 2.0.
Yeah.
I was about to say Spoelstra's. He's good. He's got the accolades to prove it too, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess play the other side on this. It's kind of been a while since the Heat have been at the top of the mountain peak when he had the Heatles, whatever you want to call them. Has some of the shine maybe dimmed on Spoelstra with these last couple of years where I'm kind of fooling myself with this question only because we'll just keep it real. The Heat have a roster problem. You guys are saying in the comments, like, who's their best player? Like, if you had your team, who on the Heat would you trade anybody for? Maybe Bam. Maybe Tyler Hero. Outside of that, it's a lot of guys that they're just
I think Nikola Jovic has kind of built a better name for himself, and even like a guy like Kel'el Ware, he was a double machine, it felt like. So it feels like they have some guys who could be like a good mid pieces in, but superstar wise, I mean, hypothetically, what do you think you could get for Tyler Hero? I mean, makes a lot of money, is a good younger star, but what value range is he in comparison? Because if you look at some of these big stars, Kevin Durant's on the block, man, what can the Heat give up? You probably have to maybe give up Tyler Hero to bring in Kevin Durant, but what would be the point of that? Because that's kind of what you're trying to build there. So it's just, he are in a tricky spot. Like, I bet a lot of teams would love Bam Adebayo, but what are you willing to give up for Bam Adebayo?
That's a fair question.
That wouldn't hurt, your team in and of itself, or would be worth it for it. Because I think star for star, I mean, it would be hard to trade because if you look at Bam Adebayo and it's like, I mean, what about a guy like Jared Allen or something like that? That would be interesting, but I mean, that wouldn't really make sense, for the Heat. It feels like anything that you're going to do, it's going to be kind of even value trade.
Yeah. I mean, Carmack, I'm kind of along the lines with you. Bam was probably all I'm trading for.
Exactly.
Hero, especially in this series, I feel like Hero should have told people a lot because Hero was the guy who I think after the Game 3 embarrassment wanted to start jawing at, Darius Garland and all this and talking about we're not going to lose that way again. Garland can't guard me and all this kind of stuff. Hero was trash in this series. And Hero was supposed to be the guy that, I guess, along with Bam, was supposed to get this team however far they could. But I'm really looking at Hero, and I'm just like, if Hero wasn't in Miami, because we've seen some of these guys when they leave Miami become even worse. Like, is Hero one of those guys too, where he might be a bit overrated because he's in Miami, because how he regards Spoelstra, Pat Riley, and all these guys? But in the grand scheme of it, like, is Hero really that good?
I always thought of Hero as like a good 6-man contender, someone who can be a sparky guy off the bench, someone who can take over in games when needed. But when it comes down to a guy you really want to put in the trust in your team, and again, nothing wrong with 6-mans. Look at Peyton Pritchard. He's a key piece of, that Celtics team. And the Celtics do great jobs at that. I mean, the Celtics have a guy in 6-man of the year every year, it feels like. It's someone. And it's because they know how to use it properly. Again, I think just trusting in Hero to be that guy when he's such a streaky player, and same things come up with Trae Young. A lot of people kind of feel about the same about Trae Young, like he's a streaky shooter, can have rough nights, not super great defensively. Trae Young obviously makes up for it, maybe in his passing aspect, maybe being more of an automatic scorer, but those guys are not the guys that they say they can lead teams. You kind of have to be a little bit of multi-dimensional. You look at the guys who are leading the teams now. I mean, you can use LeBron. I mean, he's always been a dominant force, has been able to, play a subpar defense, be a good, decent shooter when need to be a clutch player. I mean, Nikola Jokic is an all-around guy who can kind of do it all. So you kind of need to be more well-rounded, and that's not something we've seen from Tyler Hero. It's not like he's a defensive force himself, or it's not like he is like a super crafty passer, getting, 10, 12, 13 assists a night. He's a good scorer, and nothing wrong with that. But to be a championship caliber team or to lead it, you need to be more multifaceted. I mean, even down to like Steph Curry. He's a great shooter, but he can pass. He's a spark plug for a team. Curry can get hot basically anytime he wants.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at that box score, like Hero had 4 points, 1 for 10 shooting, 1 for 9 from 3. Clearly he wasn't into it. I forgot Andrew Wiggins was on that team. I forgot he was a part of that deal and everything. Because I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, I don't know what Spoelstra was really going to do with this group. Between Hero, Wiggins, like Highsmith, Duncan Robinson, like I don't know what. Like Duncan Robinson had like one good postseason and people went nuts.
He got paid.
He ain't it either.
Paid.
Yeah. Like he's supposed to be a 3-point specialist. I swear in the playoffs, he doesn't become a 3-point shooter because he doesn't really hit him at a good enough clip for me to really be worried about him. So yeah, like Jovic was the only one who showed up yesterday. So props to him. But that's a team that I think does need to kind of evaluate themselves from the top down. And look, Riley's been there forever. Not going to take anything away from him. Like he has done great work, but maybe it is time for him to move on. And I know I heard Stephen A say earlier, like, what if Riley moved out, Spoelstra moved into that position, and then you kind of go from there? I guess I could see that happening because we know Spoelstra is Riley's guy. So if Riley were to step down, he would probably say Spoelstra should be the guy to take over for him. But when you look at that roster's not winning anything unless you get like legit players there.
They need free agency to go their way. It's not a team that's able to trade anything. They need to get lucky in free agency. Sign a guy. Maybe if that is Spoelstra getting into the GM spot, like being the one talking to personnel, kind of he putting that on his back might help out a lot for him.
Brett, I saw you, fist pumped a little earlier. Bucks are showing a lot of fight tonight, I will say, but it's a tight ball game with like 11 seconds to go. I don't know, like what's going through your mind right now? Last 11 seconds or this game in general?
I'm just hoping we, at the end of the day, just survive to Game 6. That's all we can do.
I mean, I guess for the most part, the switch that Doc finally made has worked. Obviously, if it is a close game.
No, I'm not doing this. I'm not giving Doc credit.
No, I'm not saying to give Doc credit because I said that like passingly that he made the change and it is working for him. But it's like this is the kind of stuff that annoys you with Doc. And I went through this once again. He won the title in 08, and there were times even during that run I wanted to just like choke about. Like it was just crazy some of the decisions he would make. And then obviously he left there because he didn't want to rebuild and all that. And it's like Doc is still riding out that 08 title to the jobs he's gotten since then. I almost wonder if it doesn't work with the Bucks, what other team would dare bring him in as their coach after that?
Guangdong Tigers? Like nobody. The answer is nobody, right? By the way, full disclosure,
I felt like we felt that way after a bunch of times, and we're still kind of here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so full disclosure, the wire-to-wire comments are the comments that I'm getting on TikTok, so I'm just kind of putting them in the chat.
I got you. Okay.
But the answer is nobody, right? Like, I'm going on Twitter and I'm seeing, look at Doc making the changes. Look at Doc. Doc making the changes would be like me complaining that my refrigerator doesn't work. But the refrigerator's just not plugged in. Like, everybody can see, like, hey, you're an idiot. The thing's just not plugged in. And then 3 months later, I just plug in my fridge. Are you going to go be like, look at you figuring this shit out? No, you're going to be like, no, you're just an idiot. And that's kind of the way I feel about Doc Rivers right now.
Yeah, he's finally doing the thing you've been asking for this whole time.
It's like, if I asked you, what's the best way to play around Giannis? The first answer is 4 shooters around Giannis. And that's all I've been asking for. But no, we can't do that. Doc has the thing. No, I'm not even calling Doc anymore because Doc insists that you're intelligent. You have a degree. Nothing that Doc says is smart. He's Glenn. Glenn decides, well, you know what? I'm going to run Kyle Kuzma, who's been the greatest pacer of all time this series. That man can't do anything right. Like, Glenn just fucking stinks. I'm tired of Glenn just messing with my team. Listen, if we lose this game and we go into a rebuild, let's say Giannis wants out, I need 2 things to happen. I need Glenn to get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
And I need Kuzma off of my basketball team. I don't care if we're tanking. He just is genuinely the worst thing you will ever see. Like, he's missing layups and not getting back on defense. He's trying to pull that whole, like, superstar, like when LeBron misses a layup and won't get back on defense. But at least with LeBron, I can go, well, you carry such a load on offense. I get it. I look at Kuzma like, what have you done all game to be this tired? You haven't done anything. Get up.
Yeah.
Like, I need Kuzma out of Milwaukee. I don't care. Trade him for a heavily protected second that we never see. Pay him to sit home. Like, I'll take anybody in the league over Kyle Kuzma. Name him, playing or retired. And I need Glenn off my team. I'm done with him. I'm done with Kuzma. Like, they completely screwed over what could have been a good Bucks season. Like, I think we still have the tools to possibly compete with these teams, but Glenn wants to push every single wrong fucking button possible. And I'm tired of him. I need like, at the end of the day, Kuzma just has to go. I don't care where. He just has to go. But, like, on that same flight out, make his traveling buddy Glenn. Like, he's done. I don't care if we win this game, lose this game, win this series, lose this series. Anything short of winning a title, and even if we win the title, still ship him out. because that will just end up being the greatest Giannis carry job of all time. So, like, I'm just annoyed that I had to sit here and just watch those two just be an absolute disgrace and just waste a Giannis prime year. This is a guy who's an MVP candidate, and he has to sit there wasting it on Kyle Kuzma bricking finger rolls, Torian Prince refusing to shoot a three if there's somebody on the court with him, and just Glenn refusing to play anybody that makes sense to play with Giannis. So I'm tired. I'm done with just these guys in general, and just get Kuzma and Rivers off of my team ASAP.
Oh, Damian Lillard came back last game, but then unfortunately the Achilles popped on him, so he is out for the rest of the year, obviously. Bucks can't rebuild. They have no picks the next 5 years. That's where the Bucks situation, I think, is very interesting, because everybody watching the Bucks can tell they need to make some changes, as that game is now into overtime, by the way. But the Bucks need to make changes, but the only asset they really have that would get you a lot in return is Giannis, who happens to be their best player. So if you wanted to keep Giannis, what could you really do? I think with Portis is like Portis, Trent Jr., and Porter are free agents, I think, after the year. Portis, I think, has a player option. But a good, I think, 6-7 guys that are on the roster right now are either free agents or have a player option. So there's going to be some opportunity to change it up a little bit, but I want to see what they do in the offseason. And yeah, the Kuzma thing failed, because I'm looking at the box score and it's like Doc is basically doing what JJ did. He played Kuzma 12 minutes. Some might say that's 12 too many. Brook Lopez only played 7 minutes. Torian Prince only played 4, and Sims played 11. The starters have all gone 40-plus minutes. Well, at least the 5 that Doc has settled on. Giannis has played 42. Portis has played 42. AJ Green, which is a guy who can shoot it, 44 minutes. Gary Trent Jr. is 46 minutes, and Porter's played 44 minutes. So Doc's got to ride or die with those 5. No matter how many overtimes they ultimately have to go through, it's probably just going to be them.
Gary Trent's been clutching this overtime.
Yeah. But I think to Brett's point is like Trent, AJ Green, those 2 guys should have been solidified because of their ability to shoot from the outside. Portis, I get it. He gives you some inside presence who can at least stretch the floor a little bit. And Porter, I feel like, has been a really good addition for them. But I think Porter's another guy who I think is on a player option next season. So he may be a guy who might be looking to get paid, and I wonder if Milwaukee would do that. So I don't know what the Bucks do. Like Cottrell says, like they're in a rough spot. Like they almost may have to go to Giannis and be like, where would you like to go? Because like we're kind of rebuilding, and we already know Giannis is the type that if Giannis is on the court, he's expecting to win. He doesn't want to waste years rebuilding or anything like that.
Sure.
So we might have an offseason where Giannis, KD could be out there. Pretty interesting. Giannis coming. Okay.
Did you miss the part where we said Giannis
the only
wants to
thing would
win?
be, what are you giving up that Milwaukee would want? Trent Jr., big bucks. I mean, he does fill a role that a lot of teams need. 3-point shooting.
I mean, he did get big bucks from, Portland when he was a free agent. When he went to the Raptors.
Mm-hmm. Only teams in worst spot, Sixers and the Suns. Yeah. I mean, that Sixers situation is tough. Watch the Bucks get PG. Oh, don't do that to Brett. I think the last thing Brett would need is PG on that team. I mean, look, the Bucks are up 6 in overtime right now. Okay. But I think it's almost, Brady can let me know if this is true. There's like 2 parts to this. Like, you want the Bucks obviously to win this and extend the series, but it's like, that means you have to go through another game of Doc's coaching decisions. And who's to say if they win this game, he doesn't go back to the old rotation, because that would be a Doc Rivers thing to do as well.
I literally, I jokingly said before the game started, let me guess, the Bucks are going to win this game just to completely destroy my hopes and dreams in Game 6. Because that seems to happen with them. Of course, I'm always going to cheer for my guys regardless. Been through rougher times, obviously, as a fan, when we were running guys like Nate Walters and John Henson and guys like that in our lineup. Like, I'm always going to be a ride or die with the Bucks. But it's a rough spot. Like, if we win, awesome, we're in Game 6. But also, like, do I really want to suffer? Like, look at this roller coaster I've just got put on. Bucks up 1, never mind. Bucks up 6. Like, we can't hold the lead for very long, and they just have to make it the most like heart-pounding game every time.
I have to rely on Gary Trent to have 8 threes, 4 in overtime.
Yeah.
But you know what? I do think we'll end up closing this out. I think we'll beat the Pacers and force a Game 6. So,
right. And look,
I'll take it.
It would be back in Milwaukee, so you at least have that. Because then at that point, take care of Game 6. Take your chances with Giannis in the Game 7. Doc in Game 7, like, Giannis probably will never sit in that one. Giannis is going to pull 48 minutes in a Game 7.
No, he's going to have
he's conditioned to do it, but,
and like a 2-point winner loss.
Yeah. I mean, obviously then the worry would be, is he going to burn them out trying to come back in this series to then, you got to face Cleveland next round. So, let's see. I think did we touch on Rockets Warriors? We kind of touched on a little bit. Nuggets Clippers. Okay. I guess this is the last one, and then we'll probably get up out of here. 2-2 series. So obviously it's now best of 3. Who do you give the advantage to in that one? Because we've seen Jokic put up great numbers. We've seen Harden have his games. We've seen Kawhi look like a healthy Kawhi. Norman Powell, I think, finally got it going last game. Still questions with Porter Jr. Murray's chipping in. Like, who ultimately will win that one based off of the 4 games you've seen so far?
Man, that's rough. If I have to go with the team that's had like the best performance this entire series, probably the Clippers. They had the better win. That Game 3 win was a pretty big blowout. It shows when like they're clicking on all cylinders. It's a tough team to beat. The team overall didn't do particularly well. Jokic didn't do particularly well, and that kind of has been, the Nuggets staple. If Jokic can't do well, then team struggles. These are going to be 3 hard-fought series. So, I mean, who are we going to rely on, really? The Clippers' depth or the Nuggets' depth? And, I mean, right now I feel a little more comfortable going with the Clippers.
Okay. Brett?
Before the series started, I picked Clippers in 7. I'm going to stick with it. I think that Jokic is the best player in that series. I think that's not even a question. I think that's by far.
Agreed.
But also, I just like the overall team of the Clippers more than the Nuggets, right? Like, when we start getting down to, okay, James Harden or Jamal Murray, like, call me crazy, but I'll take James Harden over Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray hasn't been the same Jamal Murray all year that we saw in the 2023 playoffs. That guy's been long gone. We start going down Kawhi or Michael Porter Jr. and even the role players. Like, you can bring a guy like Nick Batum off the bench, and I haven't even touched on Norman Powell or Ivica Zubac. Like, I think that the Clippers win, and I think they win with depth. So, I'd say I'm still picking the Clippers, but I think Jokic and the Nuggets will push this thing to 7.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, look, either way, it's going to go 7. That's just the destiny of this series. I'm trying to think how I predicted in the beginning. I think I put the Clippers in 7, so I think I'm going to stick with that. Only because I think Kawhi and Harden have been more consistent. You know, MPJ, I am a big MPJ fan, but he's just so frustrating at this point because I understand and I see the kind of player he could be. I don't think he believes that, you know, the kind of player he should be in Denver. Like playing off of Jokic should be so easy for him, getting to his spots, you know, back cutting into the rim and all that. And it's just like he doesn't do it enough for me. And I think if they come up short, like he's going to be a guy that they'll probably seriously look at moving in the offseason. And obviously that's not to take anything off of Jamal Murray. Like Murray hasn't been great this year, consistently enough for me as well. But at least with Murray, it's like you kind of give Murray the benefit of the doubt because we've seen him have great performances in the playoffs. They'll obviously need that from Murray if they're going to beat the Clippers. But right now, I would probably take the Clippers in 7. What's going on, Alex? MPJ is the man.
Like once every other game.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem with MPJ. I think he's been a fantastic overall defender. Like he's improved as a defender and rebounder, but the effort just at times isn't there with him.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I was trying to see if the Bucks are gonna, I guess, pull it out before we got off of here.
1 point game, and the Bucks are about to shoot 2. Tyrese Halliburton just drew an and 1, so.
Oh, okay.
So it'll come down to free throws.
All right. I guess while that's happening, let's end the show off the way we normally do with some trivia. Trying to see where do I want to go with this though. Let's see. Actually, let's do like a what's it called? Like Basketball Reference. I'll pull up a guy's career and see if you can guess who that player is. I'll keep it to like 2000s to now. I don't want to go back into like the 60s or something. We'll keep it pretty recent. And those in the chat, you can definitely guess as well. I think of a good player. Let's go. Yeah, just did the end one. All right, 17 seconds to go. Trust in Doc in these situations?
No, I really don't. But just get the ball in and hit 2 free throws. That's all I ask.
Right. I just thought of a guy. I forgot him. Okay.
Let's see. Knicks up by 1 on the Pistons, so.
I want the Pistons to drag that series out so bad.
I say OG Anunoby and Josh Hart really carrying the offense. Well, Cat's 4-9.
Okay. All right. I got a player for you. Something tells me you'll probably get this one. All right. Share the screen. Nope. There we go. All right, to make it bigger, don't I?
Oh boy, this is going to end in disappointment for me. I know it.
You see that?
Oh, yep. The Bucks just got knocked out. Oh, cool.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they turned the ball over, and then Halliburton hit a game winner.
Oh, Doc. So I'm expecting like tomorrow, Doc fired.
I need like today. Like, don't even show up to the presser, dog. Fire him out in the court.
So you want like he goes in the locker room, he addressed the team.
Don't
Like,
even
"Oh,
let him
we
in
had a
the
good
locker
season."
room.
He leaves the locker room and it's like, yeah, you gotta go.
Don't even let him leave the locker room. Don't even let him in the locker room. Just like, yeah, you got to leave through the crowd.
Yeah,
Like,
I think the stream that I had was a little behind, so I'm seeing like the last moments now.
fire Doc, fire Kuzma. Like, I don't care who the coach is. Like have a fan raffle. Whoever wins the raffle can coach.
Funny.
Next person to comment can coach. One of us can coach. As long as it's not fucking Glenn. Tired of him.
That's a rough way to lose.
Mr. I don't get enough credit for blowing all those 3-1 leads. Like, blow me, Glenn. And blow me. Can't do this with this. So we wasted another year of Giannis's prime just because we had to bring in Glenn, when literally the entire process, I'm literally screaming from the rooftops, hire Kenny Atkinson. Hire Kenny Atkinson. No, we need to bring in Glenn.
And you know this is the last team Giannis wanted to lose to.
Yeah.
We had a 7-point lead with 40 seconds, and we were shooting free throws.
That's the crazy part. Up 7, you have a guy like Giannis, you think like, he'll probably bully his way to a few fouls. He can at least knock down a couple. And then the last play, it's like Halliburton takes it to Giannis, gets to the rim, and finishes.
No,
yeah. I mean, this is going to be the question of the summer. Like what does Giannis do? But yeah, so this is the player reference I pulled up. Had a pretty long career. I feel like this is a guy you'll probably get pretty quickly. Started his career with the Spurs, ended it with a year in Milwaukee, and then a year with the Pacers.
Would you like to guess, Dylan? Because I know who this is.
I think I know as well, too. I'm just confirming. Yeah, I think I know as well, too. But yeah, I'll guess. Is it George Hill?
It is George Hill. Okay. Yes. I figured I'd pick a guy that, because this is the game we were talking about, represented both teams, but not bad.
He flipped. I forgot
how much year votes.
He was like on everywhere for a second, felt like.
15-year career. Shout out to George Hill.
Good player.
Yeah. But yeah, I just want to do that really quickly to end the show for us. I'll have a tougher player next week, trust me. But yeah, so look, you got Brett's real reaction to the Bucks season. It's going to be an interesting offseason. Well, where do the Bucks go from here? What's Giannis's mentality? How long does Doc keep his job after this? Is it the weekend? Is it Monday? Is it tonight? We never know. But anything you guys want to add before we get out of here?
I mean, not really. And hopefully, we'll have some other games going on tonight. Like we mentioned earlier, Pistons, Knicks, and I believe the Clippers, Nuggets game is tonight as well, too. Look forward to those. But other than that, we're kind of hitting that now slow downward spiral for football. So it's going to start easing off a little bit. We're going to get into camps, training, kind of just a lot of waiting for news to happen. So enjoyed the draft. I hope all your guys' teams did something you want. Sorry for the teams that didn't. Just kind of how it works out. But, I'm more excited for the NFL season now, too.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready for the NFL season to get here. Brett?
Yeah, today check out the And One podcast. Not And One. Sorry, you can check that out on Thursday. But tonight you can check out the Meaty Boys podcast when Mo and I will be going on shortly. Launch Glenn into fucking space, anywhere but Milwaukee. I don't care. He needs to be off my team by 8:05. Like before I go on the air for Meaty Boys, he needs to be on the first train out. Him and Kuzma. It's over. It's done. Like, get that man away from my city.
I can't really say it any better than that. Appreciate all of you for sure. If you were new, hopefully you were able to hit the like button, share it out. Let people know. Come on in to the On the Ball podcast, have some great conversation, and just enjoy yourself. So make sure you're back here next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. for much of the same. We'll have obviously some more series will be over with, so we'll talk about, I guess, the future of some more teams next week, and if anything big happens in the NFL, we'll definitely talk about that as well. But appreciate all of you. Enjoy the rest of your night. Make sure you come back for Meaty Boys if you want your wrestling fix with Guardy 3 and Mo. So until then, we'll see you later. See you next week. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.